In 2023, BMW sold more than 820,000 cars in China. By the end of 2025, that number had fallen to 625,000. That is not a slow leak. That is a quarter of the largest luxury car market on Earth walking out the door in 24 months. Most coverage will tell you it was the economy, or tariffs, or Chinese consumers turning patriotic. None of that is the real story. The real story is buried inside the dashboard, specifically inside the software architecture that BMW spent 20 years building one piece at a time, and the architecture its Chinese rivals built from scratch in 3. For 2 decades, BMW iDrive was the benchmark, a rotary knob, a clean menu, less clutter than the competition. When you sat in a 5 Series in 2010, you felt like you were holding a piece of the future. But software is not metal. Software ages differently. By 2022, BMW was running at least 4 different versions of iDrive across its lineup. The 3 Series was stuck on one architecture, the iX was on another, the 7 Series on a newer one entirely. Updates rolled out unevenly. A car you bought in March would not get the same features as the same car bought in October. Inside the company, engineers called it the version mess. Outside the company, customers in China called it something worse. They called it old. Here's what was happening on the other side of the showroom. In 2018, NIO launched its first car running a single unified operating system designed in-house. Li Auto did the same 2 years later. BYD poured billions into a software stack that ran every car in its lineup, from the cheapest hatchback to the Yangwang supercar that costs more than a 7 Series. These companies were not selling cars with software inside them. They were selling software with wheels under it. When a Chinese buyer walked into a NIO showroom in 2023, the car came with a real voice assistant, natural conversation, not the broken command system you got in a BMW that still required you to say navigate to before every address. The screens were bigger. The interface updated every 2 months. The car learned your routes, your music, your child's school pickup time. In a BMW, you got a touch screen running a system designed in Munich 5 years earlier for European tastes, the Chinese customer noticed. But here is where the story gets darker. BMW knew. Leadership in Munich watched the data come in. They saw the sales softening in 2023. They saw the iDrive reviews from Chinese tech bloggers tearing the system apart for being slower than a domestic phone. The fix should have been simple: build one operating system, push it to every car, update it monthly the way the Chinese brands did. It was not simple, because BMW software was not really BMW software. Different suppliers had built different pieces over 20 years. Bosch did some of it, Continental did some, internal teams did the rest. Nobody owned the whole thing. To unify it, you would have to rebuild it from zero. So BMW kept patching. Version 8 became version 8.5, then version 9. Each one slightly better, none of them fundamentally different. Meanwhile, the Neue Klasse studio in Shanghai was working on the answer: Operating System X, a single in-house software platform that would run every new BMW. The first car to ship with it would be the iX3 in late 2025. By the time it arrived, the damage was done. The second quarter of 2025 alone saw BMW's China deliveries drop 14% year-on-year. Mercedes-Benz lost 19% across the full year. Audi lost 5%. Together, the German Big Three sold roughly 260,000 fewer cars in China than they had the year before. BMW Group revenue for 2025 fell to 133 billion euros, down 6.3%. Net profit dropped 3%. China, which had once made up over 32% of BMW's global deliveries, now contributed less than 29%. In Munich, executives stopped calling it a slowdown. They started calling it a structural reset. The Hail Mary came in 2026. BMW announced that the Chinese version of Operating System X would not be built alone. It would integrate Alibaba's voice technology, DeepSeek's large language model, and driver assistance from Momenta, a Chinese AI company. Read that sentence again. BMW, the company that for 50 years told the world it made the best driving machine on earth, was now licensing its brain from 3 Chinese suppliers because it could no longer build a system that Chinese customers would accept. The Neue Klasse will probably succeed in Europe. The hardware is genuinely good. The software is finally unified. But in China, BMW is not selling a luxury car anymore. It is selling a partnership, and the customer knows it. The lesson hiding inside all of this is older than the auto industry. You cannot defend a market with a product that updates once every 7 years against a product that updates once every 7 weeks. By the time you notice the gap has already eaten you.